What's SuppTrax, and how did you get into the insurance supplementing world? What's your background?
As you can tell by the gray hair and lack of hair, I'm a little older, so I've got a very wide background. But I did, after COVID started, my job in the past was life insurance sales, and we dealt mainly with seniors. And as you well know, with COVID, you couldn't go into their homes, and seniors were, a very risky or a high risk population, so we couldn't do that. So my brother-in-law actually was a insurance adjuster, independent. And I'll never forget, he asked me one day, he's an amazing individual. He graduated West Point and played football for West Point. Shout out to Dan Cox there. But he asked me, he's like, can you just drive me around while I do my claims? He was swamped. I remember one day we actually did 17 claims one day. And basically, I was just a glorified chauffeur. And while I was driving, I looked over and he would be writing his claims. Getting to talk to him, I said, what kind of income? What's the worst part of the job? He told me the income. I was shocked. Then he told me the worst part of the job was writing claims. So I decided to get my license, and he was right. Writing claims was the worst part. We came up with an idea to go overseas, work with a group of individuals, and have them start writing our claims for us. So we went over there, taught them Xactimate, actually taught them Symbility as well. And then they started writing our claims for us. Now we could turn 3 to 4 times as many claims as anybody else and be more profitable. And all I do is deployment. So once deployment slowed down a little bit, I reached out to several roofing companies. I'll never forget, in 2021, there's a company here in Columbus, and they're in the top 5 of the country. And I had some mutual friends, and I got in front of them and I said, I would love to write your claims for you, because you have to, submit them to the insurance company. After about 45 minutes of just talking to them, they said, we don't need that, but what we need is somebody to do our supplements. Have you supplemented before? Not gonna lie, I lied to them. I said, yeah, we do it all the time. I quickly went back overseas, taught my staff on how to do supplementing. We started supplementing for them. We didn't do all their supplements, but we did about 25 to 40%. And then we started picking up other contractors, and we started growing. And one of the things that we noticed right off the bat is we tried to find a CRM out there on the market that would help guide us through their daily process of what claims to contact, where are we in the process, how much are we actually getting. And the only thing we had at the time, because there was no CRM, was we created Google Docs on a Google Drive. And that worked well while we're doing maybe 100 claims a month. Once we started doing 400 claims a month, I'll never forget, I lost a very good client of mine. He's actually a good friend, and he reached out to me in 2022, November, and he said, listen, I can't use you anymore. And I said, why? He said, there's been some lack of contact for up to 21 days, and we pride ourselves on every 48 hours. I thought he was full of crap. We looked at it, and sure enough. And it's just the antiquated spreadsheets and Google Docs, things just fell through the cracks. So we sat down and decided to create a CRM. We've expanded on it many, many times. At first, it was just to track every 48 hours. Then it was, what are our other KPIs? What's the averages? How much are we actually collecting per week, per month for this contractor? And even more important, we'll get into that later on as well, but it drills down a little bit more than that. And then my 8-year-old daughter, we're building this, and we're like, what are we going to name this? My 8-year-old daughter said, it's Dad, it's supplement, it's tracking, call it SuppTrax. So I have to give hat off to my daughter for coming up with that name. Now she wants royalty. We tested it internally for about 18 months, actually about 24 months, worked out bugs. There was a ton of bugs, I'm not going to lie. Worked them all out, and after that, coming out on the other side, we noticed that there's still no CRM specifically for supplementing. So we decided to take it out on the market and work with different contractors and other supplement companies to offer that product. I do want to be very clear that we are not a roofing CRM. We don't claim to be, we don't want to be. So what we really consider ourselves is a bolt-on. I'm sure, with you being with Proline, it's amazing products. A lot of our contractors actually use Proline. The supplementing process itself, there's a lot of communication between the insurance company. It's just, if we put all that information into the roofing CRM, such as Proline, it will just be lost in the muddle of all the correspondence and everything else. So we actually take it offline, and we consider it a bolt-on to any CRM. We take it offline. We can track all of our communication, track our statuses. We call it the Domino's Pizza Tracker app. You can see exactly where it is in the status, submitted, fighting, do we need final from, insured, etc. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love it. That's we talk about the Domino's Pizza Tracker quite a bit actually, because we pride ourselves at Proline to be that activity feed that everyone on the team knows. And so as we integrate with SuppTrax, and we're going to figure out, we don't have the answers exactly right now, but we will figure out a way that there is communication in Proline's activity feed, but it doesn't overwhelm the users and just the system in general, so that SuppTrax can still do its job, and the way that you guys operate will still happen in the background as the bolt-on. As a roofing contractor, that's my idea of like how SuppTrax would work. If I still had a business, I would want to have specific updates in my activity feed, but I wouldn't need to know everything that happened for that entire supplement. So we'll just let the tech guys do all that. They'll figure all that out.
Exactly. I think some of the key points, like you're saying, is, when it was submitted to the insurance company, it would be great to
Yep.
have that in your Proline feed. We received it revised. We need to get it back from the insured, something of that nature. I think those important milestones, if you will, are documented in Proline as well as SuppTrax. But then the everyday back and forth. Yes, we called, we left 2 messages, we sent an email to the DA, et cetera. That does not need to be in Proline.
Love it. So let's kind of move on. We talk about the Facebook groups all the time. They're constantly
Mhm,
saying who's a good insurance supplementer, who can help me with my
mhm.
insurance process. In your opinion, in 2025, who should be supplementing roofing contractors' insurance claims?
I think any insurance claim itself should be supplemented. And that's coming from the side of me that's still an insurance adjuster that does deployments. Do you see what I'm saying? So, and a lot of times I also hear, and this is a common misnomer, is that I don't need to supplement it. It's ACV only policy. Those also need to be supplemented. The insurance adjuster, I don't care how good they are, they're going to miss some things in the
Yep.
field.
Yep.
It just, we're human.
Yep.
There's also other things that cannot be uncovered until production. Is it a code item? Is the thickness of the decking in place for the spacing on the rafters, for code and everything else? That is a lot of times is not available to the adjuster at the time of inspection. I truly believe that any insurance, residential insurance claim, actually even commercial, but any insurance claim itself is and should be supplemented.
Yep. So when you're looking at from that perspective, and roofing company owners are looking to hire someone because they just can't do it themselves. They don't want their sales reps doing it. That's a common theme. That's probably a good strategy in general. Let's kind of break down the internal versus an outsourced supplementing like situation. Let's talk about the pros and cons from your perspective. What is the pro and con for having somebody internal versus an outsourced way to supplement the claims?
I think, an internal, and I think I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does work for some contractors. When you have an internal supplement team, a lot of times they're just brought in and they're not really trained. They're brought in and say, fight this. They don't know. I think the best supplementers internally are going to be a seasoned roof sales guy or consultant. But then again, when you look at that, he's not making money while he's on the phone fighting the insurance company. He's making money while on the roof. So it should be a separate department fighting for that. And your sales guy should be on the roof and making money that way. But if you are going to do it internally, I would definitely take that supplementer and have them out in the field with the sales guy, with the roofing consultant. I see a lot of times where we've stepped in and taken over for internal supplementing. These people don't have any idea what the difference is between a laminate or composite. They have no idea what soffit is versus felt. I mean, it's literally that drastic. And unfortunately, we see that a lot of times with the desk adjusters as well that we have to deal with. Funny story, the other day, we actually had a desk adjuster ask me what soffit was. Unfortunately, the training just isn't normally in place for an internal supplementing team. So, but if you were going to do one, I'd send them out with the actual consultant or sales guy for a period of time, let them get on the roof to see all the different components, there are some great classes out there, start sending them there. it is going to be less expensive to do it internally. I mean, it's your people, you're paying them by the hour or something of that nature. When you go external, you don't have to worry about the hiring, the firing, the training. You don't have to worry about time off, personal time off, et cetera, sickness. It's this very seamless transaction. Everybody on that other team, whether it's our team or there's some great supplementing companies out there, they've been in the business long enough. They know the ins and outs of supplementing, and they will maximize your profit for you.